I found some notes just recently here, and it's regarding Jesus and the board of disciples, um, taken loosely out of Luke 10:17 through 24. All right, everybody, Matthew said, impatiently tapping his pencil on the table. Get your donuts and find a seat, and leave a few for Jesus. He's been looking thin ever since the vacation in the desert. Hurry, because we've got a lot to cover today. We're already 5 minutes late. As chairman of the board of disciples, Matthew sat at the head of the long table around which the rest of the disciples were looking for their seats while trying not to spill their coffee. Jesus is the only one who isn't here yet. Has anyone seen him? He's been in Bethesda teaching and healing for the past week, said Bartholomew. Bethesda, Matthew moaned. Doesn't he realize that these meetings are the nuts and bolts of his ministry? Philip, you're from Bethesda. Haven't you seen him today? Last I knew, he was planning to come, Philip replied. Well, next time, make sure he gets a head start. We're trying to run a ministry here. How can we make decisions about the budget, the color of our basketball uniforms, while he's out hobnobbing with lepers and, oh, hello, Jesus. He's entering at the end of the room, taking a seat at the table. I guess we're all here now, Matthew said, somewhat embarrassed. Gentlemen, let's take a moment to acknowledge the man who made our ministry possible. Disciples gave Jesus a hearty round of applause, and someone handed him a donut. What's this you're wearing, Lord? Matthew asked Jesus. A robe and sandals. Same as I always wear. What happened to the suit and tie that we provided you with? I haven't worn it, Jesus said. Lord, I realize that as the Son of God, you can do whatever you want. But it would probably be better for the ministry if you didn't dress like some sort of commoner. But my message is for all the people, especially commoners, Jesus said. I realize this, Matthew said, but the commoners aren't the ones who funded our building. There could have been benefactors here today, and you have to make a good impression. We can't present ourselves to our donors looking like riffraff. But we can talk about that later. We've already wasted enough time, so let's get started. First, I'd like to congratulate our 3-on-3 basketball team behind John's three-pointers. They easily beat a team of Essenes from Qumran last week. Matthew turned to Jesus. You should have been there, Lord. They could have used your healing hand when Thaddeus twisted his ankle. I was teaching that weekend. I could have used you, Jesus said. Basketball is good for the ministry, though, John offered. He's right, Jesus added, Thaddeus. If you can get a winning record this season, it will earn us a lot of respect. Besides, we're going to put your name on our new uniforms. True, said Matthew, but we'll talk about uniforms later in the meeting. First on today's agenda is public relations. Philip, you've done a lot of work on this. Why don't you start us off? Thanks, Matt. As you know, we're undergoing a public relations evaluation. We're studying how other people perceive the ministry. Things are getting touchy around here, and this is no time to offend anybody. We're already in debt after building the John D. Baptist Memorial Recreation Center, and we certainly can't afford to alienate our benefactors. Several of us have done studies, and I guess I'll start us off. My job was to come up with promotional literature to help educate the general public about our ministry and make it seem more palatable to everyone. What I have here, as you guys can see as I pass it around, is a brochure outlining the ministry. As you can see, it is full of bright, glossy colors and has a panoramic color photo of Nazareth skyline and our new administrative building. If you look inside of that pamphlet, you will note that some of Jesus' more popular but less controversial quotes superimposed over a nifty shot of him healing a leper. Everyone who previewed it, they seemed very impressed. Jesus frowned while reading the brochure. These pictures are nice, but I don't recall saying, blessed are the donors, for they will receive a handsome commemorative wristwatch. Philip said, it's artistic license, Lord. It's not that big of a deal in the long run. Plus, we've got a great bargain on the watches. Jesus still looked perplexed, but this brochure distorts my message. We have to be practical, Lord, Philip cut in. This appeals to a large cross-section of people. I've studied the demographics. I can guarantee this thing will work. All right, said Matthew. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor? Jesus appeared bewildered. His hands quickly went up around the table. Well, it looks like it's approved, said Matthew. Okay, moving along, we have an opinion survey from Peter and Andrew. Andrew, why don't you give what you can present that you have here? Okay, Lord, your public image seems to be doing well. Healings especially have earned you approval points. Although you have overdone the Lazarus thing, the biggest problem we have is with some of the things you said and some people you associate with. For instance, the Samaritan woman you were seen with. Now, we're all for civility and civil rights and everything. Technically, Samaritans are children of God too, but you should probably be less public about your association with them. People are becoming more open-minded about this, but you'd better stay inconspicuous, and it's only just for a matter of your safety. Also, it may be good to tone down some of your preaching, especially about the rich. The camel through the eye of a needle analogy angered a lot of potential donors. Perhaps you could change it to something like, it's easy for a fat guy to do sit-ups than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Something milder. Jesus started to protest, but Matthew cut him short. Peter still hasn't spoken, Lord. Anything to add, Peter? Well, Andy summed up things pretty well. I might point out, though, Jesus, that there are some who frown on your overly liberal attitude toward alcoholic beverages. And this includes Zelda of Cana, who contributed a substantial sum toward the rec center. She represents a wealthy inheritance for us when she passes on. This could be a serious situation, Jesus. I mean, your first miracle was turning water into wine. Perhaps in the future, you should just turn water into Tang, or maybe a fruit juice of some sort. But these are semantics, Jesus said. I teach God's truth. What other people think of me for? I know what you're going to say, Lord, Matthew interjected. The reality is reality. You have to be more pragmatic about things. Try to keep public opinion in mind when you're teaching. It is really for the ultimate good, Lord. Okay, next. Thomas, have you been able to contact the regional governor for information on our nonprofit status? No, there's still a lot of red tape involved, but I'll keep trying, though. Will you know by next week? I'm not for sure. I doubt it. Why did I have you feeling you were going to say that? Well, keep at it, Thomas. I'd like to know about that as soon as possible. James, why don't you go next? Thanks, Matt. Well, in the last 1 to 2 years, our ministry has grown from a loyal few followers into a popular and increasingly influential institution. Our influence is being felt on 3 continents, and of course, we have the administrative building, the rec center, the regional offices, and the tract publishing house. Since we are now so visible, it's in our best interest to keep up discipline and keep a reputation among our followers. The study has turned up a list of people who I recommend to be asked to leave. You can each take one of these lists. I have copies for everyone. I can't go through all the specifics, but I'll share a few with you. First, we have Marcus and Maximus, a couple of Roman soldiers. They committed themselves to the ministry of healing and have been evangelizing other soldiers to an extent. However, this is far outweighed by their notorious reputation as gamblers. They make no secret of their craps games, and it's hurting our reputation. Another is Thelma of Bethany. Ever since Jesus rescued her from the terrific he who has no sin, throw the first stone line, she's been spreading the good news around her home area. Unfortunately, her adulterous reputation precedes her. Apparently, she really got around, and people are questioning why such a disreputable woman is suddenly dropping the Lord's name. The last example is Lucretius, who took the word of the Lord back to Greece with him. Frankly, the guy is just too liberal. His loosey-goosey libertarian attitude is mocking our Jewish roots and our laws. There's a full report on him and everyone else in the folders I gave you. Look these over, and unless there's any personal objections, these folks will be discreetly asked to leave our ministry. So all in favor of removing these people, Matthew asked? All the disciples raised their hands. Jesus stood up. Well, what about forgiveness? He cried. What about forgiveness? Isn't the point here, Lord? Matthew cut in. We're being too idealistic. People just won't go for it. But all have sinned, not just, sure, Lord, sure. Some sins look worse than others. We're a growing institution. We can't make conscious concessions about the sake of love and grace. Besides, we voted. All right, take 5 and stretch. Next, we'll have a financial report from our treasurer, Judas. I should hope, Mr. Iscariot, that those 30 or so silver coins that you've been counting so diligently from your money pouch weren't borrowed from our treasury. Hold on. Is someone at the door? Don't they know this is a meeting? Thaddeus, could you see who that is? Suddenly, Thaddeus dashed back in the room. Good grief, he shouted. It's Roman soldiers. They say they have a warrant from Pontius Pilate. Look, could you just tell them to come back later? They insist it's urgent, Matt. Okay, let them in. Well, hello, officers. What seems to be the prob? Judas, what are you doing? Why are you kissing Jesus like that? You should really keep your deviant feelings to yourself. What if our benefactor saw you doing that?